spend some time this morning digging deeper into the background of the European bankers the URC man planned on meeting with, in the hopes of getting a fresh lead for his colleagues in Europe to check out before they packed up. For this reason, Jack had rolled into work much earlier than usual. He did not want them to return with nothing to show for their trip. It was his responsibility to feed them the intel they needed to find the bad guys, and he'd spend the next few hours trying to find those bad guys. He scanned through the Zits and a proprietary software program created by Gavin Byer, the campus's head of IT. Gavin's Catcher program searched data streams following the wishes of the analysts here at the campus. It allowed them to filter out much of the intelligence that was not relevant to their current projects, and for Jack, this software had been a godsend. Ryan opened a series of files with clicks of his mouse. While he did this, he marveled at the number of tidbits of intelligence that were coming on a one-way street from U.S. allies these days. It depressed him. Not because he didn't want America's allies to share intel. Rather, he was bothered because these days it was not a two-way street. To most in the U.S. intelligence community, it was an outrageous scandal that President Edward Keelty and his political appointees in top intelligence posts had spent the past 4 years degrading the U.S.'s abilities to unilaterally spy on other countries. Keelty and his people had instead shifted the focus of intelligence gathering, relying not on America's own robust spy services, but instead relying on the intelligence services in foreign nations to provide information to the CIA. This was safer politically and diplomatically, Keelty correctly determined, although diminishing America's spy services was unsafe in every other respect. The administration had all but precluded non-official cover operators from working in allied nations, and CIA clandestine services people functioning in overseas embassies found themselves hamstrung with even more rules and regs, which made the already difficult dance of their work nearly impossible. The Keelty administration had promised more openness and transparency in the clandestine CIA. Jack Jr.'s father had written an op-ed in the Washington Post that suggested, in a manner that was still respectful to the office of the presidency, that Ed Keelty might want to look up the word clandestine in the dictionary. Keelty's intel appointees had eschewed human intelligence, instead stressing signals intelligence and electronic intelligence. Spy satellites and drones were far, far safer from a diplomatic standpoint, so these technologies were implemented more than ever. Needless to say, longtime CIA human specialists complained, quite rightly saying that although drones do a spectacular job showing us the top of an enemy's head, they were inferior to human assets, who often could tell us what was inside the enemy's head. But these human proponents were seen by many as dinosaurs, and their arguments were ignored. Oh well, Ryan thought. Dad would be in charge in a few months, he was sure of it, and he hoped most or all of the damage done would be undone during his father's return. He pushed these thoughts out of his head so he could concentrate, and he took a long swig of quickly brewed coffee to help his still sleepy mind focus. He kept clicking on the one-way overnight intelligence hole, paying special attention to Europe, as that was where Chavez and Clark were right now. Wait, here was something new. Ryan opened a file that sat in the inbox of an analyst at CIA's OREN